All right, we're back for episode 3. It's been a few weeks and we had a little bit of technical issues. I recorded this Zoom we did it a few weeks ago and then I recorded it on Zoom on iCloud and then when I went to watch it, it recorded it weird. Like it wasn't double screen like this. It was every time someone talked, it would go back and forth full screen, and that's not what we wanted. And um, I had out of town visitors staying for a week, and my son went to Costa Rica for a week, and it's just been super crazy. But we did have a good conversation.
We did.
So, bummer that you guys didn't see.
And Sister Confessions. I have a confession for you.
My confession. Okay.
Confession. Um, it sort of worked out that the recording didn't record the way we planned because yes, it was a good conversation, but we were about an hour and a half to 2 hours late on our timing because someone fell asleep.
Okay, confession. I
Someone
totally
fell
fell asleep.
asleep.
It was
And I
Friday
was
night.
waiting and waiting, and then it just kind of threw off the whole vibe.
It
And
did.
but we did get into some good conversation. But it wasn't. It was rocky in the beginning.
It was. That is true. Thank
You were
you.
just
Yes,
waking up.
I was. And I was like, oh my God, I think I set my alarm for like 10 minutes. I just want, so that's what I do. I just want to close my eyes for like 10 minutes. I have Siri in Spanish, 10 minutos. Solamente 10 minutos. And then who did you call? JR?
Yeah,
He woke
I
me up.
called. Yeah, I texted him and I said, I sorry to bother you, but we're supposed to be recording with your wife right now, and um she's nowhere to be found. And he's like, I'm not with her. Let me figure this out. And then he texts me back. She fell asleep. I was like, oh. And
Hey, conversations with you are a priority. And I'm so sorry. So yeah, so anyway, so that's what happened. I fell asleep and then she called me like, "Oh my gosh, we're late." Wait, first you texted me that you're going to dinner with your husband and you were prolonging it, our meetup time,
yes,
right? So I'm like,
yes,
"Okay,
it
okay,
was
good,
already
that's great."
thrown off. Yeah.
Yes. I'm
We
like,
were
"Great, I'll take
scheduled to
a nap.
meet at
That's
a
fine."
certain time.
Yes.
And I said, well, let's postpone it for an hour because my
Sure.
husband asked me to go to happy hour. And I mean, we never get with two little ones under 5, 6 and under. We we never get time to ourselves, so I couldn't say no. And
Yeah. And I'm like,
like,
"That's great. I'll take a nap.
yeah,
Sure." And then I think I woke up drooling and I was like, where am I? Okay, let me. And then my AirPods weren't connecting. And then it was just, so we had,
yeah,
it was great to talk with you. But anyways, that recording didn't even, it recorded weird anyways. So here we are. We're committed to this
take
and
two.
yes, we wanted to, but actually we're going to go a different route this time. We kind of,
Right,
last time
that's
Last
right.
time we talked about our nails and we got into some good stuff eventually, but
Yeah.
I was off. So, is it
And
my turn for a confession?
oh, sure.
I didn't want to cut you off though. What were you going to say? And what?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So funny. I talked to Michelle yesterday, I think it was during her lunch break. She called
That's
me and I
right.
said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm going to Rite Aid right now because my womanly thing started. Aunt Flo came to visit and they don't have anything at the office." So, so funny. She's like, "I'm going to Rite Aid. I bought some necessities and I bought some Oreos and chips." And I was like, this is perfect, like survival kit. So,
Yeah,
that brought us into this. We started talking about it, about workplace environment, because you work in like a male dominant field as a tool engineer and everything that your company does. and the women's bathroom doesn't have accommodations like that and necessities. And
Well, when I first started working there, which was 10, 11 years ago, they didn't have any female engineers. Well, they still don't, but besides me. But they the bathroom was the women's bathroom was a storage room because there were no women. So when I started, they
they
were like,
turned it
"Oh,"
into
that was like the
oh,
last thing on their mind, and they're like, "Oh, the toilet works. You just, they made a little pathway for me in there to go to the bathroom, and they eventually cleaned it out for me. But um, there wasn't even a women's bathroom.
yeah.
Uh,
I did
but
not know that.
nowadays it's gender neutral
Oh,
bath here
yeah.
in California. So they changed it to everyone could go in anywhere, but they still the sign is shows male and female, but everyone's stuck to the bathrooms that they normally go to.
Yeah.
How so? It was a step up. I mean, I can't be like, I need you to supply me on those days don't come to work prepared. They got a bathroom for me eventually.
Oh, it was so funny when you told me that yesterday. And so I have exciting news. I am a social worker. My role is community development specialist. So I take my services through the company I'm employed for and go out in the community. So I work in 2 libraries throughout the week. And quite honestly, bathroom is the worst part for me because I work in the study room and I love ice. And I'll have like 3 of these and 4 or 5 of my sparkling waters. And I literally could pee twice an hour. And it's just so annoying because I have to have someone unlock the door for me every time. And, anyways, um, super exciting news is I am starting a new job July 1st and it's completely remote. So now I can use my own bathroom and I can work from home. And this is going to be my new office. This is my husband's office right now, but we're going to convert it for me to be my office. And yeah, it's exciting stuff. Bathrooms are a big deal. Workplace environment is a big deal.
Workplace environment. Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
And I think we touched on it it wasn't last time. The podcast didn't record well.
Oh,
Um, but we mentioned about remote working and your plan on having to get involved with community because isolation is not good either,
right.
right?
Yeah, I need people. I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert. And so working remotely, I'll still have clients, but it's just gonna be over the phone. Maybe Teams or Zoom. I hope I can like relate to them, but over the phone is just so different. So I'm hoping to get involved in community service or volunteering some other way, ramping that up. But yeah, it's exciting stuff for us here. Being able to work from home, not commuting. Oh, my earbud just fell out. Sorry. Um, yes. And being able to just use my bathroom anytime I want and not having to have someone unlock the door, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
Hey, Father's Day's coming up. It's around Father's Day. I would love for you to share the story about how you got into your line of profession. Male dominant,
Right.
no women's bathroom,
Right.
storage
Yeah.
closet. How did you get
Yes.
into it?
I so I think we mentioned in our pilot where we grew up in San Diego, and then I moved in with our parents divorced in 1995, 96. And when I turned 18, 19, our dad asked us if I wanted to move in with him. And he lived in Riverside area. Um, so I jumped as soon as he offered. I was like, yes. um, so I moved in with him, and I was just trying to navigate. I was 19, trying to navigate what I wanted to do. I didn't find any. I originally, when I was 18, I originally looked into being a veterinarian because I love animals. And once I took a few courses, I realized I didn't want to do that because I love animals, but being a veterinarian, yes, you help animals, but you deal with a lot of sadness, a lot of
Mm.
animals that are hurt, a lot of, it's a lot of grief. uh, yes, you're helping them, but I didn't, where I was in my life right now, I didn't need more sadness. So I said, oh, I don't want to do this, and stopped going to school for that. And I wasn't sure what I wanted. I know I liked cars. I've been into cars since I was 5,
Hot
4.
Wheels. You always
Hot
play with
Wheels.
Hot
I
Wheels,
collected
and
I
yeah.
collected Hot Wheels cars. I used to bargain with our little sister. Um, she wanted to play Barbies, and so I said, "Okay, I'll play with you Barbies for the first half, and then the second half you had to play with me cars." So we would negotiate back then, and yeah, I, I've always loved cars. I would we would be driving, and I was little and sitting in the back seat, and I would just try to name all the cars I could find passing by on the road. It was like a fun game. So I got into working at auto parts just to get into the car stuff, the car scene. And that's also male dominated, and um, wasn't, it was very odd to see a young girl working there. I mean, if there were females there, they were a little bit older, but I was
Yeah.
20 and
Mhm.
working at auto parts, and I got a lot of people didn't want me to help them.
Mm.
Uh,
No, you don't know what you're talking about. I'll talk to the guy over here. Or
yeah,
yeah.
it was either getting hit on or I don't want you talking to me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taken seriously, and I think it was my boot camp for engineering because I got into engineering, but I also didn't.
Mm.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I saw our dad was, in comparison to what we grew up with, he was lived comfortably, and I was like, okay, I didn't understand what he did. I didn't know what he did. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember him bringing home blueprints, and I didn't really know what he did either. I knew he was a tool designer, like I knew that, but he bring home blueprints, and like I don't know what any of this means. But okay,
Yeah,
continue.
he told me, when we were little, he was like, I'm a tool designer, and I would just think, how many hammers do they need? I don't understand what
Why are
they
you designing
they
tools?
already exist. What are you making? There's screwdrivers and hammers. I don't understand. Um, that's what I knew what tools were. I didn't know that you actually have to make custom things to to hold or fit specific things that are you can't buy it at the store. You can't go to Home Depot. You need something specific for this particular part, depending on what it is. And that's what he did. And so I told him, show me. It can't, this isn't what I told him. It was in my head, but I said, it can't, you're on the computer. It can't be that hard. Show me what you do. Because I just said, show me what you do. And when I said that, his eyes got big. He said,
Aw.
"Really?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, but before I show you, you got to take classes for this." And uh, I didn't do it, but in my head, I rolled my eyes like, "Oh, just show me. I want to,
Yeah.
you know, what is this thing?" But I listened to him, and he told me what classes to take. And I started taking classes for engineering, and then he started giving me some of his work to start learning hands-on stuff while he saw that I was going to school and um, proceeding with it. So I got into it and I liked it. It made sense, and he told me that I was grasping it more than people he would try to teach at his company. He would be like, it would just go over their head, and I was retaining it and I was understanding it. That's what he said. I didn't think I was understanding it. It was way, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's a whole other world. Um,
Michelle,
mm,
I have to say, we can talk about this another time, but I know with your son just graduating kindergarten, like he's struggling to learn the new things, and you're like,
yeah,
you're learning all these things, and he's like, no, I don't get it.
that's right. Yes,
Yes, and
exactly.
you were
Mhm.
like, no, I don't get it, and he's like, I see
And
you
he's like,
learning the
"You're
things, but
learning."
you're like, I don't know. I just put that
That's
together.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's
Yeah,
yes. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
yeah,
So uh roles I'm in that role now, and I see
yeah,
my 6-year-old learning things, and I'm like, "You're learning." He's like, "No, I'm
yes,
not."
oh
I'm like, "Yes,
no,
you are. You're getting it." And he's like, "No,
yeah,
I don't." Yes. Oh,
yeah.
just like that. Yeah. So, um I I was I was on my last semester, and I got a job in it was like a draftsman type work in LA, and meaning I had to drive an hour or more to work, and I was used to going to work a block away.
Hmm.
AutoZone or Cragen. At the time it was called Cragen, now it's called O'Reilly's, but yeah, I was used to staying in my little 5-mile radius town, and this place was in LA, and our dad was like, "No, you're gonna take it." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. It's way in it's in LA." And he's like, "No,
Yeah,
you're taking it's they offered you
but
a job, you're taking it." So I took it, and I I was learning, and I asked them if they could be flexible with my schedule because I was about to finish school, and they said, "You don't need school for this. It's more on hands on. That's where you get the knowledge, not textbook stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm almost in," and I needed to be. It was on site, like machining classes. Like I needed to be there on site. It wasn't something I could do online or anything. And they didn't work with me, so I listened to the guy, and I was like, okay, I got enough education to where I got a job, into it. So okay, I'm starting my path. And yeah, so I didn't finish, and I continued on hands on, and then I worked there for a couple years, and then this was in 2007, 2006, 2007. So 2008 the recession hit, and I got laid off. And then with me being laid off, our dad gave me some of his work to do cuz he was contracting, and so I helped him with contracting work, and I was doing blueprints, and he would do the design and I would do the blueprints for his designs, and I got really familiarized with blueprints, GD&T, which is geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, which is pretty much a map on how to make something on paper. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, me and him were like, we worked so well together, me and my dad. Um, and then I got into a company that wanted my dad, but he was already working somewhere else. And so he told them, well, my daughter does the same thing. And they're like, really? And I went in for a interview, but it wasn't even an interview. The guy was like, you're he said her dad's name. You're her daughter. I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, you have big shoes to fill. I hope you know what you're
Mm.
doing. And then that I got the job. That was it. And
Mhm.
I left like, oh my gosh, I know I have big shoes to fill and I don't know what I'm doing. And this place was
Mm.
in Orange County, so it wasn't as far as LA. But so I worked there for a couple years, and the guy that told me that ended up going to another company, and I, that's always stuck with me when he said, "I hope you know what you're doing. You have good shoes to
Mm.
fill, big shoes to fill." And then a couple of years later, into the other company, he was like trying to get me to go there. So I was like, "Oh,
Mm. I
I
do know
filled
what I'm
the
doing.
shoes. I proved myself." um, he
Mm.
tried getting me to go there and work with him, but around the same time that I got the job where I'm at right now, and they don't just do they don't just make aerospace. They also make automotive, and that's what I was like, oh, finally I could do some car stuff.
Mhm.
So I started working there, and then that's when our dad had a sudden heart attack and passed away. At the time, I my last name was a different last name, meaning not my maiden name. And when he passed away, I changed it back to our maiden name, Lavis, because I wanted his name to continue to be on blueprints in the industry.
Mm.
He made he made in our industry. He was like a legend, and
Mm.
well, anything he did, he turned into a legend, right? Um, so I wanted to keep it going, and any 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 blueprints I make, anything I do, I'm proud to put Lavis
Live.
on there. Yeah, keep it
Mm.
going. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I remember after he passed away, a couple years after, or yeah, I would say of the three of us, there's three of us girls, that you were definitely the closest. You lived with him. I When you were an adult, I didn't, and our other sister didn't. And you learned, the trade. He taught you the trade. I know he was so proud of you and loved that. It was a beautiful connection you guys had together. And I
Yeah.
remember, I don't know, a year or two after he passed away, you were just kind of questioning your whole career. You were like, I bonded with daddy in this, and now he's not here, and what am I doing? And just
Yes.
lost.
Yes.
When something tragic like that happens, grief shows up in so many different ways when you least expect it. And you were doing the work that daddy taught you, and that was kind of triggering in a way, like it just made you miss him
Yes.
more, or so you had to work through
Yeah.
all of that of how do I it's been a very lucrative career for you, and it's provided well, and you know
Yes.
it well, and you learn from the legend, and so I mean it's all good, but there's this big hole because the person who taught you isn't there anymore, and it makes you
Right.
feel sad that you can't bond with him anymore, or
I f- yes, I felt sad. Definitely. I don't, that was our bond exactly. Talking shop talk. We'd do shop talk. He called it, and and also um I felt like a I'm trying to think of how to explain it. Like I think I've explained it before of a like a bird in the nest, and and like they say parents go through empty nest syndromes, but our parent left and I was alone in the nest, and
Mm,
I felt like a helpless bird because I relied on him so much. I felt vulnerable. I felt like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna find out I'm a fake, I'm a fraud,
mhm,
like imposter syndrome. Like
mhm,
I, w- I mean, my call to him to ask for advice um, went from daily to once a month to we would just bond over it. I wouldn't really
mm,
it,
mhm.
so I didn't rely on him as much as I thought I did, but it was just nice to know that he was there in case I ever
Yes.
needed any
Mm,
anything, and to know that that I didn't have that anymore
mm,
physically was heartbreaking. And then I felt selfish thinking that, like, I felt like, you're so selfish to be like, oh, what about me? You know,
mm. What I need or
what
whatever.
about what I need? Exactly. Instead of just, oh, and then I went through a phase of, yeah, really being mad at myself for even thinking that way. Like, how selfish of you to think that that your dad's gone, and you're like, oh my gosh, my everyone's gonna find out I'm a fraud. Um, so it was very a learning process for me, and dark time, a very dark time. I didn't know what to do with myself because he was, as a adult, he was a focal point in my life. Um, I moved in with him at 19, and he passed away when I was turned 30. So we had 10 years, 11 years of great
Mm,
bonding. Um, and I am so grateful for those years because growing up with divorced parents, if any of you listeners have divorced parents, you know that the parent you live with is the one you hear about your other parent you don't live with, and you start getting opinions of that parent you don't live with because of the parent you live with, sharing information. So I had my own thoughts of our dad until I lived with him and I saw him from, and I got a relationship of me and him as our own people versus
influenced.
influence. Thank you. And similar with me and you, Desiree.
I, I was just gonna say that. Yes, like you have um, outside
Influences.
voices in your head, yeah. And then once you have that experience or whatever, then you can understand it better on your own as an adult.
Yeah.
Same thing with me, Michelle. I have to say, I felt, I think that was the hardest thing for me about Daddy passing is I just felt gypped. Like
Lost out.
yeah, and the time of all the negative influence that was put upon me that I didn't, and I do have to say, I came into my own whenever I had kids. My son was maybe 4 or 5 years old. We had a birthday party, and Daddy flew up for the birthday party, and it just like he was always there in our childhood. I remember so many great fond memories, and especially with Father's Day coming up this weekend, and thinking about our dad and what an influence he was in our life, and I was able to apologize to him for how I treated him through the years, and we had a difficult relationship, but I was able to make amends. And um, little did I know, like 10 years later, he was going to die of a heart attack. But I'm grateful for that time that I had with him after I apologized and got to know him as an adult, and me and him on our own accord, not with other people influencing that. And um,
Right.
realizing that he was a great man, and he was always there for us. He'd tuck us in every night and rub our back, and very quirky and had his own silly things. And when you were talking about grief, it reminds me of I've I'm you might have seen this before, the stages of grief,
Yes,
where it's like just all squiggled in there, like you're here and then there and then
that's right.
everywhere in
Yeah.
between, where it's it's difficult.
Yeah, it was the worst time in my life. Um, I the night it happened, um, there's all these shoulds, right? So we think of should have. Um, he texted me earlier that day that he was going somewhere and he invited me, but I was busy and I didn't even answer. I saw that, but I didn't say no, I'm busy or I'll talk to you. I just didn't answer. I was like, oh, I'll talk to him tomorrow or something.
Mhm.
And there was no tomorrow. I could have said, I could have answered him. I could have said tomorrow. I could have said anything, but I just thought I was like, okay, well, I can't right now, and I'll let him know tomorrow or talk to him tomorrow. And that didn't happen. It didn't come. And finding out, I got to the hospital, and when I got there, they just pronounced him to his wife that he passed. But that's another thing with they're not the medical field. They told her he expired. Like he's not milk.
I totally
I
thought
know.
milk when you said that. Yes.
He's a person. Like it. She told when she told me that I was like, oh, I felt so bad for her
Mm.
to receive news like that and in that way. They did have a like a grievance counselor come and console the family because uh, all the family came not knowing what happened. We just all knew.
I
Yes, go
didn't.
ahead.
I wasn't there, but you
No,
said
but
all the
you
family.
alerted us. You alerted
Oh,
us.
I
So
did, but I wasn't there.
no, I'm sorry, not all the family. It was the immediate family that lived driving
Locally.
distance away. Desiree, you lived 8 hours
12,
away,
yeah.
so you couldn't make it. You came as soon as you could. Um, yeah. What when I heard, I wanted to jump out of my body. I didn't want to feel those feelings. I wanted to, if there was any way I could just
Be away.
disappear and not feel those feelings of despair of what is this? This is a bad dream. I can't go through this. All of that. I even threw up. That's how I was trying to get out somehow. Like I had to go to the bathroom and vomit because I wanted to come out of myself, but it didn't work. The vomiting didn't work.
No.
Um,
Mm.
it was it, and I looking back, I've grown so much from that.
From
I w-
that.
I
It's been
I'm
8 years.
more compassionate person, and hearing people that lost someone, I'm like, I know I empathize with them, and I everyone's going through something. Like I had to go back to work, and how am I supposed to live after this? I had to keep on living and going, and um, yeah, I've grown a lot since then, and it also makes me sad that he's not here to see me
Mm,
now. Because when he left, I was a mess.
mm,
I was I was in the middle of a divorce, and I was lost and a mess. And I wish he could see me. I wish I could visit him now and see him now where I'm at now in life.
mm. With two beautiful children and
Yeah,
married and a beautiful home. And
yeah,
I think I shared in maybe the last podcast about how daddy's death brought me to my relationship with God. Like I was in the depths of my despair as well. I was drinking a lot. Like I just needed to numb the pain. I didn't know how to deal with it. Um, and started going to church, and it. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Oh, please hold. Can you hear me?
yeah,
I lost my. Oh, it's gone. And it makes me think of just about life in general. Like you just never know how the trials make you stronger, or how God will use them for good in your life. Like in the moment, it feels like hopeless or unbelievable or just like too much to bear. But you got through it, and you said because of it, it's made you more compassionate. And anytime I hear about someone dying, I always just like cherish the day. Michelle, I didn't know that he had texted you that day,
yeah,
and just um be cherishing every day. Like you said, you just don't, you assume, oh, I'll just tell him tomorrow, but no one's promised tomorrow.
yeah,
Gosh, what a powerful message that
yeah,
is, because 57, he was working on the yard and had a heart attack and died. And
yeah.
um one of the incredible things we both have experienced, I remember I flew, I think the next day, I think it was the next day, I got tickets at night to fly down to your house, to figure out what are we going to do, and start planning the funeral, and all of that stuff. And we are at your apartment, and we were talking about the funeral, and like, uh, you bonded with him with work, and I bonded with him with music. I'm a musician, and Daddy was an incredible musician. And are you wearing your necklace?
Of course.
Okay. So right after he died, he was a guitar player and a singer and a harmonica player, and he was so talented. And I flew down there, and I went with his wife around the house, and I collected all of his guitar picks, and I made us necklaces for us girls, and Nana and his wife. And so you bonded with him with work, and
I
I bonded him with music.
I also in cherishing this necklace, Desiree, I didn't ever want anything to happen to it, but I know that it's
Story.
material.
Yes.
Something may happen, so I had it traced
Mm.
on my arm here, just in
Oh, let
case.
me.
So I had it traced, and he went by Lentis, so
Like
I
this.
had them put his name on Lentis on here. So I have that with me in case something. I still wear it every day, but the days
Yes,
I take it off or forget, I'm like, oh, it's okay. I still have it.
I love that. Um, yeah, so I remember we were at your apartment. Um, our other sister flew in too, and we were figuring out what are we were planning his funeral, like, in a blink, here we are. And
Yeah,
I
I
knew.
just text he just texted me, and it's 24 hours later, and we're planning his funeral. Like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Like,
So hard. Yeah, it was a whirlwind for months. Um, so I was at your apartment and we were planning it, and I was like it was getting so overwhelming. I needed to go outside for fresh air and breathe. And I remember thinking, like, okay, I really want to play a song. I play the saxophone and I wanted to do a tribute to him, but I have stage fright. And so I just was crying and I was feeling overwhelmed, like, okay, what song will I play? Like, I have to do this for him. What would I do? And in this moment of like turmoil and despair and fear, I was crying and I felt something on my cheek and I wiped it off and it was a ladybug.
on
And
your cheek, on your
on
tears?
on my tears, like it was on my face. I felt something as I'm crying and I wiped it off and it was a ladybug. And
I didn't know it was on your tears.
yes, it was.
Oh
I
my god.
wiped it off. Um, and I in that moment I felt like it's okay. Like it was like this. And I said, this has to be a symbol. Like ladybugs have to be, this is a sign. I don't know what sign it is. This is a sign. And I Googled it and that in the moment. And I was like, what's the meaning of ladybug? And I wish that I had exactly what I saw. Um, but I don't, because this was 8 years ago and I'm pulling up a graphic that I just Googled today to show you. But anyways, um ladybug symbolism, spiritual meanings, and then this is what it meant. Can you read it okay?
Yeah.
And when I was reading the description of the meaning of ladybug, of like good fortune, and there's angels there and you're being watched over, I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And the reason why I bring that up is because I want ladybugs has been a thing. Like that was the
It
first
has been
time.
yes. It has
And
been a thing for all of us, all
all of
3
us.
of us.
Yes.
Yeah, we all have
Can
amazing
you
ladybug stories.
can you
I have a
share?
I have a
I'm gonna look
couple,
for my.
yeah.
Yes, we have lots,
Um,
but go ahead. I need to find my thing.
yeah.
Sorry. Don't mind me.
So,
Tell your story.
you told me about the ladybug landing on you, but I didn't know it was on your tears. Like that's even more beautiful. I mean, it was already amazing, but wow. Um, it was it was on his birthday and I was at work. Um,
Like 4 months later or so.
yeah, it was only a
Uh-huh.
few months later and I was at
Mhm.
work and it was his birthday and I was on the computer and my hand was on the mouse and I felt something on my hand. Now, where I work is upstairs, inside upstairs, like, and there's no plants or nothing. Like inside upstairs, I felt something crawling on my hand, and I looked down, and it was a white ladybug. I've never seen a white ladybug.
A white
I've never
ladybug.
a white ladybug. I never seen a
Uh-huh.
white ladybug
Oh my god.
before then, and I haven't seen one since. It was
On his
that day though, on
birthday.
his birthday, a white ladybug crawling on my hand. I took a picture. Maybe I could send it to you to put in the like a pause and put it in. But it was a white ladybug, and I was like, oh my! I've never seen one, and like I
Mm.
said, never seen one before then, or never seen one since. But I found one that day, and it was crawling on my hand on his birthday,
Mm.
and then another time, you mentioned how he passed. He was they bought a new house, and he was working on the yard, and he was planting. He was about to get ready to plant 3 palm trees in the front. I want to say it was like 10 months. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. Before he passed, I told him I wanted him to help me look for a house. I started
Mm.
looking to buy a house, um, and I wanted his help because he's owned a few properties, and I knew nothing about it. And he was like, "Yes, I'll help you." And then 2 months later, he passed away.
Mm.
So I put a pause on it because I had to take a breath because it was too much. And then I went back house hunting, and I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just looking to buy a house, and I found a house online. Um, it was a picture of the outside, and there were three palm trees in the front, and I was like, "There's three palm trees right here." And he was about to plant three palm trees. I need to take a look at this house. And I go and I look at it, and I just felt home there. I can't
Mm.
even explain it. Like it's a nice house, but it wasn't like this beautiful grand house, or I just felt it felt like home. I felt like he was there. I felt it felt good. It felt and I made an offer and I got it. And the day we moved in, they the owners they had like five house keys, and all of them were just regular keys. On the counter, they put all their keys on the counter. There was like five house keys, and they were all just regular looking keys, but there was one key on there with a ladybug. How amazing is
Mm.
that? And it's
Yeah.
been my key ever since, and it'll always be my key. Like, and I and they show up on birthday parties and
Mm.
special occasions when I go see him at the cemetery. A ladybug crawled up my leg and went into his favorite food was rolled tacos, and it
Mm.
crawled up my leg and into the rolled taco onto my plate, like without flying away. Like they usually land and then they take off, but this
Yeah.
one crawled all the way up my leg into the food of rolled tacos. And it, it's
Oh,
it's been beautiful
I
to see
found
all these.
it. You texted me the picture.
Yes, it crawled into my rolled tacos. Yeah, there it is. There's the ladybug. Oh
While you're
my
there at
god.
the cemetery.
Yes.
Yes. Let's show a
Yeah.
picture of our dad. Um,
Oh
I'm
yes,
just,
please. That'd be
I'm just,
amazing.
I'm just looking at pictures.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
There he is.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy.
And my daughter, my aunt, my godmother, um she told me she had a dream about our dad.
Hmm.
And she's like, "But I'll wait for later to tell you." And I'm like, "Okay." And um it's in the same visit I give her a gift, and the gift was a positive pregnancy test. And she started crying, and she said, "That was my dream." She said, "Your dad
Oh.
told me you were gonna have a little girl."
Mm.
And I I got a, when you're pregnant and you go through all these tests and stuff, they told me I was gonna have a boy. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Um, Michael's gonna have a brother. That's awesome." And then, but that was blood work. That wasn't the sonogram. And then I got the sonogram, and they said it's a girl, and then it ended up being girl. And the girl, my daughter, she looks like our dad.
Okay.
She, in the beautiful version. But if he was here holding her, everyone would
Mm.
know that was
Yeah.
his granddaughter.
Yes,
She looked
grandpa.
so much like him, and it's just a beautiful gift to
I
have.
was looking for that picture that you sent me. I think it was her baby shower where you sent me a picture of the ladybug there. I think it was
Yes,
the baby shower, but I
on the
don't.
table.
Yes,
Yeah,
I don't. I
yeah, there
don't
was a
have that
ladybug on
picture.
the table at the baby shower. Um, yeah,
Ladybugs.
they come up, they show up way more than they've ever showed up, and I remember being little and seeing a ladybug and getting excited because
Yeah,
you don't see
they're
them often,
yeah.
but it was it wasn't on special occasions or we they show up and they make themselves shown on special
Yeah.
occasions. I
Yeah.
remember um when our sister moved to where she lived at, she said there were like 100 ladybugs in
Mm.
the place.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
I know. I've experienced ladybugs too, and like in confirming beautiful places. Like when we bought our house here in Ohio, I saw a ladybug in one of the rooms. I was like we're inside. Why is there a ladybug here?
yeah.
So it's been a beautiful thing, and it makes me think about something that you and I love talking about are not coincidences.
Not coincidences.
Not coincidences. You
Yeah.
say city
I call them synchronicities. Everything's
synchronicities. I call them serendipities. Like the
yeah,
things that just happen where it's like, there's no way. Like,
no
there's
way.
no way. Yeah. And I feel like that about the ladybugs, where it's
Yeah.
like they show up and, my experience, I had this when that ladybug was on my cheek as I was crying, and it was just this calming, like, it's gonna be okay. It's okay. And you getting that confirmation, your key, and just so many crazy things. Yes, I love it. I feel like they're signs of God, of like you're on the right
Everything
path.
everything's fine.
Everything's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
I listen to a podcast and they they call it winks from God.
Hmm.
We're good, we're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing stuff. And you said today, because we were thinking about talking about this today, you text me that one of your customers just started talking about spirituality and synchronicities to you today, like
Today, and yeah,
today.
phenomenal. It's just amazing how, I always think, I I guess, people can well, I don't know. A lot of people think of it as, oh, wow, that's a coincidence, or I think of it as like that's God's way of confirming I'm on the right path. Like if things line up like this, sometimes I'll be talking with someone about something, and then something over here happens where it's totally directly correlated with what, like,
Yeah.
no way. How does that happen? Like, oh my gosh, God is so good. Like, he puts things together for us in beautiful ways, like confirming a message we need to hear, or a lesson we need to learn, or like I just feel like it's confirmation. You're where you need to go. You're on the right path. You're where you need to be.
Yes. Yes, I love it. And I get it almost every day. I
Mm.
now I just smile and be like, oh, but before I used to run home and tell my husband, and he after so many times he got excited about it.
Yeah.
Before he was like, oh, you're probably, looking
Making it
for
up
it,
or
or but
stretching. Yeah.
yeah, but it's happened way too many times to deny. And now it happens almost daily that I'm just excited to wake up and see what the day brings, because
Yeah.
something's gonna happen and it's gonna confirm everything that I
No.
believe or know or
That's
whatever.
actually my favorite Bible verse, Matthew 7:7. Ask and ye shall receive.
Yes.
Like, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open to you. For all who ask, receive. For all who seek, who find, and for all who knock, the door will be open to them. And that's
It
it. Like,
already
if you
it's
have,
already there. It already
if,
exists. It's already we just
if
have
you
to
have,
go get it or
if you
receive
have
it.
to, or have your eyes open to it, or ask for it. Yeah, be open to it because it's happening. Yeah,
It's
ask
already
and
there.
you shall
Yeah.
receive. Yeah, so many times too. I go home and I talk to Gary. I'm like, okay, this totally isn't a big deal, but like, it's the smallest things. I'm like, it's such a big deal to me. Like, I can't believe that this happened, or
Yeah.
this happened here, and that happened there, and how
Yes.
could that be? Like, but
Right.
yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, luckily, we have each other where we can do that
Yes,
because our husbands are like, oh,
supportive, loving.
they're supportive.
Yeah.
They're good sports. They are good sports, but we also want to share the excitement with someone.
Yes, yes,
'Cause it's so exciting. It is.
yes.
And,
Michelle and I call each other often. Like, okay, I have a praise report. Like, oh my gosh, and then, sometimes
amazing
it just,
happens.
sometimes the things seem unbelievable. Like, no way. But why would we lie about it with each other? Like, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that
Yeah.
happened. God is so
Yeah.
good. God is so good.
Yeah.
He guides and
Can
leads and
can I
confirms and
share? Speaking of the no way, I'd like to share a thing I did in therapy at the cemetery.
yeah,
Um, so I mentioned EMDR before. That's the type of therapy that I do. Well, not do practice with my therapist, and it's um, it's for me. What works is eye movement. So, for example, I tell the therapist something that's bothering me, and she has me breathe and focus on where I feel it in my body. I'm upset. I'm telling her something, so I'm clearly upset. And she's like, "Okay, where do you feel it in your body?" And I tell her,
do
it's
you
never in the
always, yeah, I was just gonna ask, go ahead.
same spot.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say never in the same spot. I mean it ranges. Sometimes it's in my back, sometimes it's in my chest, sometimes it's in my throat, sometimes it's in my gut, like I feel nauseous. Um, Sometimes I have to poop, like processing through it. Like
Yeah,
she said, it happens. But you're in tune with
your
your
body's
body.
like expelling the toxins of whatever you're
Yeah,
experiencing.
yeah. She said that that happens sometimes, depending on what it is. So after that, me telling her what it is, like I said, for what helps for me is eye movements. So she goes like this for a certain amount of time, and all I do is watch her fingers and I let my brain go. Like I what we all do when we're upset about something, we're like we just go on tangents
Stuck in
on
it.
whatever
Yeah.
it is we're
Hmm.
upset about. And I do that while I'm looking at her fingers though.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay. You
so
let your
while
mind go.
I'm yeah, but I'm doing it in a controlled way to where I'm watching her fingers and
Mm.
just my eye movements of but I'm still thinking, but my eye movements is it processing whatever I'm thinking of whatever is bothering me. And that has what has sped up my therapy because I go to the root of the problem. Like in that session, I get to the root of the problem in that same session of doing this and me thinking. So then I find out why it's bothering me because it's a trigger of something else that the core of the problem. And then I know what I need to work on so then I'm not triggered again later on in life. I mean, it's not that you still got to work on the stuff, but now you know what to work on instead of, oh, this bothers me and I need to work on that. And then this bothers me and I need to work on that. As in, all those things bother you and it all goes down to this one thing. I mean, there's probably a handful of things, but not of all these things that are bothering you,
Mhm.
it narrows down to just a few things, and once you work on those things, you're less triggered.
Triggered.
Um, so this one thing that was bothering me is our dad not being here to um not being here to see my children. And this is another selfish thing of me. It's not, oh, he's missing out. It's I'm missing out from seeing him loving my kids.
Mhm.
I'm missing out. And I hate that I'm this way. I hate that I feel selfish like this. But it is. I'm not, oh, my dad is missing out on having, because he's experienced grandkids with your kids, but not with mine. And I
Yeah.
my biggest grief is that I'm not getting to see the love fest of my
Mhm.
dad and my baby. And it really hurts. And we've gone to the cemetery and I cry and I'm like, this really sucks. Like it I hate I really don't like that I can't experience that bond of my kids and seeing my dad with my kids. So I told my therapist I wanted to do work on that, and she was like, "Okay, do you wanna do it at the cemetery?" I was like, "That'd be oh, that's a great idea." So I go
Mhm.
there and um we did it remote because she moved away, so we did it via Zoom. But the reception there was really bad, so we hung up and I couldn't do this. I couldn't follow her fingers.
Mm.
So um we
Have you
did it on
tried it
the
on your own
phone.
before? Okay.
No,
Okay.
my first time.
Keep
So
going.
we
How'd
did
it
it
go?
on the phone. I put her on speaker and I put the phone on my lap and she guided me through it and she said, you know, put your cross your arms because it has to be bilateral, so side to side on my eyes or cross your arms. And so we did the same thing. She told me, where are you feeling it and what are you doing? What is upsetting? And I told her um what's upsetting to me. And it was that he's not here to I'm not able to experience the family of my dad and my kids. And it's really putting me in a hole. Like I want to be okay with this.
Mm.
So she guided me to take a breath, feel it, and I felt it. I felt like a big hole in my heart. I felt a big empty feeling in my chest. And and she's like, okay, no, go. Like go with that. She says, go with that. And then I
Mm.
was
Mhm.
tapping and just I closed my eyes and I imagined what I want. And what I want is going to his house and I watched in my imagination, I watched my two little ones running up to him and him like getting down a little bit with his arms open and them running into his arms and him going oh ho ho in his little giggle that he does. And as I'm imagining this, it was like a and doing this, it was like a and this never happened to before in my EMDRs, and I've been doing it for 10 years with my therapist. I imagine things, you know, because you're thinking of all the
Think
stuff
about yeah, right.
that's bothering you.
Missing
You
or
have all
yeah.
these things going on in your head. I was imagining this of what I want that I'm missing out on. And it was like an old movie, like in the back in the day, like in the 70s and 60s, they had projectors.
Okay.
And if the projector messes up, it like bubbles out,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
like the on the movie screen it bubbles out. So the me imagining all that, it bubbled out like that. And then I heard in my head, I am here.
Mm.
And then I kept going, and I was like, what do I
And
do?
that was
Because I'm
it.
trying to work through this.
Yes.
But it wasn't my own thought. It wasn't an outside voice. I heard inside my head, and it wasn't my thought though, because I'm trying to process this. I am here. And then so I kept going, and then I tried imagining it again, but it bubbled out,
Mm.
and I heard, but I am here.
Mm.
And then I'm like, "Ugh, I'm doing all this. I'm not telling my therapist anything because I'm in it, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Um, and then I just thought in my head. So this was my thought. I'm like, but you're not here. You're not here physically. You're not here. And as I'm trying to argue, I hear louder in my head, but I am here. I'm here. I am here.
Mm.
And I had to stop. I'm like, I can't. I had to stop. And I told her what happened, and she was like, that's that's but I've been seeing her throughout his death and the things I've been experiencing, and she's like, that's unbelievable, but it's not
Mm.
unbelievable. And it was just beautiful and amazing, and
Mm.
it gave me like, just, I felt okay after that. I
Peace.
mean,
Mm.
I felt that hole that I've been feeling went away. It's just,
Mm. It's okay now.
it's
That was
okay
it.
now.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
beautiful.
Amazing. Beautiful.
I wanted to
It-
add to that because you were saying that the things that we talk about, you like, why would we make that up? It happened. It really did happen. Like, this
Right.
isn't, I called you right when this happened, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I can't make this up. It really
Yeah.
happened. And then when I got
Yeah.
home, it didn't even rain that day. When I got home, there was a rainbow over my house.
Stop. There was a rainbow.
It didn't even rain that day
Oh, beautiful.
when I got home. Yeah, it it put peace in me, and I don't have that
Hole in your
hole
heart
in my heart.
anymore.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that, you know, everyone everyone experiences tragedy and trauma in their at different points in their life, and like it's just so important for each of us to figure out what, try different things and seek help. So I'm going to therapy right now. You were talking about triggers, and so one of the a lot of the core work we're doing is, oh my gosh, I'm using my husband's, I don't know what they're called, Samsung. Well, it's syncing with my laptop, which my AirPods didn't, but it keeps falling out of my ear. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a ton of trigger work, and I'm 40 something years old and never really tended to triggers in my life. And that's actually one of the core things in trying to get in tune with your feelings is she says, what is a physical sensation that you have? I guess I've never
Wow.
really focused on that, like
Yeah.
tenseness
Where
or
it goes in your body. Yeah.
irritability or headache, or yeah, because it
Yeah.
can manifest in different ways in our body. But um it was incredible to hear about how you've been. I'm like, maybe I need EMDR because we're still working on this trigger stuff, and it has been super helpful. She has a trigger worksheet that I go through whenever I'm feeling like something's coming up, and I didn't realize living through my life that I was triggered for a lot of things. Just dismiss, like, oh, this is irritating,
We
or
all are.
oh, yes, like I just,
That's all it is. if none of us were triggered, nothing would bother us. It's all
The trigger
everything
is the exactly. So
triggers
my
is a
goal in life
trigger.
is to live an untriggered life. And I think it's possible because the work that we do, like if we can identify it and get to the core of it, then we can know where this is coming from. So when we start feeling that physical sensation, then it's like, okay, I know where this is coming from and I don't need to hold on to it and just let it go. Like this isn't, yeah, my
Yeah.
this doesn't need attention or energy or me to get worked up about it. Like just let it go. Yeah, life
Yes.
will.
It's amazing because it things bother us, and we're just like, the thing that bother us needs to change. Not saying that we need to change, but what typically, if we're not working on ourselves, it's the outside that needs to change so that we're not bothered. Instead of, this thing's bothering me. Well, why is it bothering me?
Right.
It shouldn't. I'm not, there's no shoulds, but if this thing didn't happen to me 5, 10, 15 years ago, this thing wouldn't be bothering me. Like,
Hmm.
it takes you back. Whatever's bothering you is taking you back to
Past experiences, hurts,
something that, oh,
yeah.
this felt, your body was like, this feels familiar. That's why you tune into where you're feeling it. This feels familiar. I need to protect you because the last time this happened, so we need to get in defense mode. We need to protect you. And you could say, you could say to yourself, thank you for protecting me. I don't need you to protect me right now. Um I'm going to work on this. Like, I don't need that protector.
I don't need
I'm
protection.
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's okay. Calm
I
yourself
had
down.
this beautiful experience when I went to California a little while ago. This meditation time, and I visualized the waves. Like and that's how I'm viewing it. It's like, okay, when I feel something coming up that shouldn't come up, I'm feeling these emotions, whatever they may be, that aren't in line with my morals or values or beliefs or anything like that. Then I just feel the wave coming and then I just see it go back into the ocean of life, is what I'm telling myself. Like, okay, you know
Oh,
what?
that's
I'm not
great.
holding on to it. It's going back
Go
and
through.
just letting it
Yeah.
go and not holding on to it, not paying attention to it. I'm honoring, I'm not, for a while I was putting up a brick wall and being like, no, don't feel this, don't process this, just push it away. Like I shouldn't be whatever. This is bugging me or this is irritating me or this is bad or whatever. But it puts such a negative connotation and kind of exacerbates things. Like when you're on a diet, like, okay, don't think about the ice cream brownie
Right.
sundae. Don't think about the ice cream brownie sundae.
Right.
You're dieting. Don't think about
Only
French
think
fries.
about, yes.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
realized that was happening. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just visualize the waves coming and it comes and that's okay and it's going back into the ocean of life. And um, I shared that with you whenever I visited. And I want to share this. So I took this 1 minute clip of so next time, anytime I need a little refresher, this is my reminder of okay. Um, okay, well, it's not playing, but everyone knows what waves look like in the ocean. Oh, here it is.
You were gonna play
Visualize.
that?
I was gonna play that, and the sound of it, and so
Yes,
as I was meditating on the ocean, I was
yes,
thinking like, okay, when I have triggers, there it comes up, and it just goes back into the ocean, and
yes.
so I have these.
That's great. Let it let it just go through.
Right.
Don't block it, or don't hold it. Just let it
Yes.
go through you. Yes.
Yes. Take your thoughts captive and
No,
release it back into the ocean. Just let it. Yeah. Isn't it crazy? We're in, this phase in our life but I do have to say, I hope I'm continually growing and learning. And I never want to be at a point in my life where I'm not striving to get better or learn more about myself or learn more about my purpose or be self aware or, all those things. Like, I never want to,
I don't think
but
you ever will.
yeah.
There won't be a point unless you are a monk
I'm,
in a
but they're still
monastery.
trying, they're in
You
silence
know
and
what?
still
You're
trying
right.
to,
That's why they're there.
that's why they're right. You never. But I've
Yeah.
had some really big self realizations this past year where I'm like, I did not even know I was operating in that way, like by default. I didn't even realize that that was a default core belief
Mhm.
until like going through therapy and stuff. I'm like, how did I not even realize I'm functional, I'm successful, I'm doing all the things and happy and things are good. But once I realized that, everything was illuminated, like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of work to do. I was like, okay, here we go,
We all
buckle up.
do.
we all
We
we
all
all do. Yeah. Anything else for
love
today?
this
Okay,
part.
so
I love this
huh,
part. I love
it
this
is,
part.
it's like your own personal part.
Well, sort of, but people it's almost 7 o'clock here, and people are out walking their
Oh,
dogs,
I
and
see behind you.
I love it. I love it. I was on my way home from work, and you texted me that you were ready. I was like, oh, I probably have another 45 minutes, so let me just find a park around here.
Oh, have you been to that park before?
No, I just found a
Oh,
park, and I came over here, and I'm like, okay, let's set up camp and try it out. And
hey,
this is probably gonna be where I'm gonna come after work. If we try to, because Desiree lives 3 hours ahead of me, so, and we both have children, so work, family, all these things. But this is very important to us
it is.
to get out there, that we're trying to keep it consistent. And so when you text me, I sent you the link. I'm like, okay, where's the park? Let me find a park.
Maybe we need to be like, wouldn't that be fun if you park hopped like every time we did one?
Oh
It
yeah,
was a different park, and then we can rate it. The viewers can rate, hey, this was a 10, or I didn't like all of the ice cream trucks we heard, or whatever. I don't know. You can
yeah.
park hop. All right. Anything else for tonight?
Just that if you have lost someone dear to you, it doesn't get better, but you learn how to live with it. It's like, I saw a quote. It's like you get a pebble in your shoe, and at first it's so uncomfortable and so painful, and then you just learn to live with it.
But it's
That's
always there.
It's
Right. And
always
I
there.
don't want and I don't want to
You
live
don't
without
ever.
that pebble in my shoe.
Yeah.
And, and there
You have I still have it's been 8 years, and I still get days where I want to cry. And it never, like I said, it people say, oh, in time it goes away. It never goes away. This is your new normal, and it does get you get less days of you get more days in between of being able to take a breath and breathe. But it's the pebble in the shoe theory of, you'll always have a pebble in your shoe now, but you learn to live with it, and it'll be okay. It will be okay. And I believe, as I heard, he said, I'm still here. And he's here. He is here. You have his DNA, I have his DNA, our sister has his DNA. He lives through our grandchildren. He still is here in a way. He is. My daughter looked just like him. The constant
my
reminder that
kids
he's still here. And
my
she's a
kids
little
do not.
lamb too. He's a little ham like he was. So yes, he is still here. They are still here in some way. And I'd say look for the reminders. The 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 ladybugs were it it was we didn't look for them, but we were open to it.
Mhm.
I want to say keep your eyes open because
Right.
it's out there and
Seek and
it
you
is
shall
there
find.
and it helps. It helps so much with the healing and it will be okay. It will.
With losing a loved one, and also I guess maybe just grief and tragedy in general. Like, I would also say, to add to that, is find the blessings in the pain, find the beauty in the pain. Oh, collateral beauty. I remember
Collateral
you
beauty.
had said that
Collateral beauty.
after daddy died, and we started going to church because he died. Like, it brought like mortality. Like, I cherished every day because you just never know when something's going to happen, and like I looked at life differently, and it was precious and cherished rather than just taken for granted. And so you just never know the collateral beauty that will come from tragedies, and how God will work that for the good. And focus on, what you can glean from it and learn from it and make yourself better through it. What How it will make you better. Like you said, you're so much more in a much better place than you were before he died. Like, just you had
Yes.
to stand on your own 2 feet
Right.
stronger, and
Right.
were forced to do that. You didn't want to do it, but yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yes.
would say that.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so it's Father's Day around now as we're recording this, and thinking about our dad and the losses, but also the gains and what we've learned through the experience. So yeah, that's all we wrote. I got nothing else. I mean, there's a lot more, but what topics do we open now?
For this episode,
I think
I
this
think
is
we're
good.
good. I gotta
To be
pee.
continued. Oh, okay. We
There's no
didn't
vacuum
even have.
chair.
Oh, there isn't. Okay. Well, we're cutting this short. It's only
Yeah.
been 2 hours now. All
Okay.
right. Well, to be continued. Lots more to talk about. Always great to see you. And stay tuned for the next one. There won't be a big gap again. Lord
Yeah.
willing, that we have another day to record this podcast. So stay
Yes.
tuned. Okay. Bye, Michelle. I
Bye.
love you.
I love you.